Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Welcome to my craft studio. I am Beth Roy, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Let's see here. I'm going to adjust my camera just a bit. We'll wait for everyone to come on here. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday. I hope you all are well. I hope you had a productive, creative week. And let me know what you've been working on. I have been coloring and playing with techniques. Today we're going to do the Emboss Resist Technique. Good morning, Linda. I hope you're well. So let me know if you've done the Emboss Resist technique. What is that, right? It is a way to heat emboss and preserve what you've put down first. So I'm going to show you a technique to keep things white, if you want your flowers white. Or you could do this with other images as well. Anything that's solid that you can heat emboss. So I like to watch other demonstrators and kind of what they're doing, and I get inspired by them as well. And I love watching Ruth over at Artfully Stamping. Is that right, Jenny? I think maybe it's Artful Stamping with Ruth, but I have her saved on my YouTube. So she likes to do a ton of one-sheet wonders where she stamps the whole page. And so today when I do mine and I show you this resist technique, I'm just going to be doing a layer because that is workable for me, and that is how I prefer to do it. I don't like to emboss a big sheet. It just stresses me out trying to make sure I don't touch all the powder before I heat it. So I've done this technique several times. There's other, you can look up Joseph's Coat. That's where you add color and then you add images and then you like literally put a dark colored ink all over it. And then when you wipe away, those colors show through. We're going to do it so that we see the white cardstock. So this would work for other colors of cardstock as well. Oh, Linda, I'm sorry to hear that you're not feeling well. Well, hopefully you'll start feeling better soon. Everybody send good thoughts and prayers for Linda. Make sure she gets to feeling better. I hate when, I know what it's like having a back issue. I have this neck thing that I have migraines almost daily. And so I totally get when things are hurting, it makes us just not want to do anything, or at least that's what I feel like. You can ask Jenny and Vicky, and they'll tell you there's so many days I don't do anything. Oh, I tell you, I said that every day. All those sports and roughhousing and things that we did as kids, we never realized how much they're going to hurt when we get a little bit older. Our bodies don't like that. Good morning, Tracy. I'm so glad you guys are here. So I've given it a couple minutes. Hopefully anyone else will find us. I'm going to go ahead and point down because this technique takes a few minutes and I want to make sure that I have plenty of time to get it completed. We know how I am with my time, and I let things run away with me. So I'm going to show you the 3 cards that I created with this technique when I point you down. So if anyone else comes in or you're just, lurking there in the background, please feel free to say hi to us. I promise we don't bite. We're so happy that you're here. And you can just say hi. You don't have to do all the things. That's okay, because today we are going to make some color decisions. And so I'm excited. I wanted to try some other colors, but I ran out of time. So we'll just do it live, you know, because it's fun. Okay, you guys ready? There's like 8 steps to, oops, get the camera the way I want it. Okay, let's see if I went far enough and if we're level. Good morning, Marianne. I am so glad you're on. Did you just get off work? Oh, I haven't seen you forever, friend. I'm gonna pull this down a little bit. I've been doing, oh, Linda, I posted a thing yesterday. I'm going to post it today right after this live. I have everything ready to go, but it took me a second to get all the pictures yesterday in between some other things. So I do have the form ready to go, and I'm going to post that right after this live. So I can't seem to get myself straight here. So I love this technique, and I have to admit, I don't remember if I've done it with white. I probably have. I've done lots of these Embossed Resist techniques. So the technique, the idea is the same, and then there's a wide variety of how you use it. So I'm going to explain how we're going to do this. So on Ruth's video, she did a one sheet wonder, and she showed, I think it was a piece of fabric or something that she had seen, and that inspired her, and it had white flowers. And as you know, sometimes it's hard to get white. Like, we do have white craft ink, but it really soaks in, and so sometimes it's hard to get that white color. Now, you could white emboss over whatever you've stamped, but this is kind of a fun way to do it, and then you wipe away the stuff, because when you emboss, you can't stamp on this. Now, blends will mark the embossing. That's a different technique that I've done before. But when you heat emboss this, it's going to stay the same color as your cardstock underneath. So this is great if you, say, wanted to use a pink piece and then grunge it up and stamp all around it. The embossed part would stay the color of your cardstock, because let me tell you what I'm using today. Oh, thank you, Linda. Good morning, Vicki. So glad you made it. We're going to need Versamark ink. So this is a clear ink. It is, I'm not sure really what the base is, but it's a sticky clear ink, and it's used for embossing. So we're going to need that today. And then I have clear embossing powder. And this is how I store mine. I just throw them in a little tote so that as I pour, I can kind of contain my mess. So as you can see from my bottle, my clear is quite old. And I probably need a new one. Embossing powders can go bad depending on, you know, where they're stored and if they get moisture or too hot. So I have had a few go bad on occasion, but mine is still good. So I played with these and I checked out my clear powder. So I got powder everywhere. It is clear. So when you emboss, whatever color is underneath that clear is what color it's going to be. That's why I said you could use pink cardstock, and when you clear emboss, that flower is going to remain pink no matter what you put on top of it. So today we're using white. We're going to do some white flowers, and I did some Mother's Day cards. Mother's Day is tomorrow. So if you, you know, you make cards for Mother's Day, here's a last minute idea. Or you can just copy it and stamp your flowers any color if you like the layout. So these two, I used about the same stamp sets. And then this one, I used color and contour. And you can see where I didn't get a good embossing here. So my flower's part white, part blue. Now, it doesn't bother me. I'm okay with how things turn out creatively when I'm just playing and having fun. I kind of like it that, you know, part of it didn't emboss. Good morning, Kathy. Hey, don't look. I'm making Mother's Day cards. Oh, just kidding. So we're going to play with this technique today. So you need Versamark. You need clear powder, clear embossing powder, and then I have a heat tool because we have to set the embossing powder. So it might get a little noisy today. I'll warn you before I start embossing in case you want to turn your volume down or cover your ears because it can be kind of annoying. But are you guys ready for your first choice? So we're doing white paper. I may experiment later and post some other options, like if we were to use pink, but thank you, Kathy. True, Vicky, she won't. But I tend to make tons and tons of cards like this. I make them specific usually to who I'm giving them to. But these are definitely gorgeous too. So I have some color choices here. And I just quickly picked. So my colors for these cards, oops, lay them out. Balmy blue was what I used for my background. And I used Night of Navy. Any surprises there? I used Smoky Slate and Pear Pizzazz. And I think on this first one, this was the first one I did, I think I stamped some leaves in Old Olive. So I used some blues and greens. But I'm really, this was the color I was going to test out, was Blushing Bride. And I was going to do just a couple of colors. You don't have to pick a ton of colors. You could just do a few. Use whatever colors you have. Because chances are, if you have ink pads, you've bought the colors that you like. So use your favorites. So we can do my original color combo here with the blues. And you don't even have to use green. If you wanted to use gray for the leaves, you could eliminate that color. But I also have Rich Razzleberry and Fresh Freesia. So we could do a purpley card. So this is Blushing Bride. And I would use that on its own. I would just stamp, and then I would also use it for blending in the background. I just like that color. I don't really, I didn't really want anything else with it. So probably 2 grays and a pink. That's one of my favorite color schemes. And then I have my old tried and true teal color scheme of Pool Party and Bermuda Bay. Now these will all be paired with the gray as my neutral. If you don't like gray, you can substitute in soft suede and crumb cake, and you're going to get probably a vintaged look. But I used gray for the middle of my flowers. I didn't use the basic gray. I didn't use the darker one, but I used that for that. And this is a new decorative mask. See that background? Those little subtle hints? That is a new decorative mask. And on this one, I stamped extra. This had a splatter stamp, and I actually embossed it so the splatter stamp would stay white. So, and this one I just really layered it up with all my leaves and flowers and then used my blending brush. So you'll also need a blending brush. Oh, we could use petal pink, I guess, with this if we wanted to add one. So I've used my blending brush. I used this gray one for the mask, and I used this one for my balmy blue, but I have tons of brushes over here, so we can change it up. Jenny's voting for Fresh Freesia. So when you're making cards and you're making them for someone, you would probably pick their favorite colors or your favorite colors. So don't worry if you have different colors from me. Just use whatever you have. Linda's voting purples. So So I'm going to move some of these. And we can pair the green with it, too. I liked the Pear Pizzazz. So we can pair the Pear Pizzazz and maybe some. So here's, we would do our flower stamping with the darker one. And then this would be our background color. And we have some gray in there because we want our flower to have a middle. So, and you know, this Happy Mother's Day stamp is retired. I realized I didn't have any Mother's Day stamps except for I found one paper pumpkin, and I know I probably have more, but I could only find one yesterday. And I have a couple of retired sets here that have Mother's Day quotes, but I also wanted to give you some ideas. So if you don't have a Mother's Day stamp, that is okay. Stamp "You're amazing" or "You are loved" or something on the front. We have tons of sentiments. Look through your stamp sets and see what greeting or saying you would like to say to the person, and then just simply write Happy Mother's Day on the inside. So you can do that too. Don't fret if you don't have one. It's going to be okay. You can get creative with your message. So, so here's our color scheme. I think it's going to work out pretty good. You guys can decide. Do you think green or just leave it all the grays? Do the leaves gray and have the purples. So I've used, this card used the Forever Fern. I'm trying to get my stamp set situated here. And I love this artistic rose here. So if you have other solid flowers, that's what you want to use. We can try this one today if you would like. It's a bigger flower, so you're probably only going to do 2 because you don't want to take up the whole page. And then on this one, I also used this stamp set, and I used the leaves. Wait, not that one. I used this little sprig. Now this card has this and this. So, and I used these leaves on all of them. And these little flowers. So we have lots of choices that I've pulled off my shelf here. And I thought about trying these, but I didn't get to that one. So, what do you guys think? Do you want to copy exactly? I think Vicki had asked me about this one when I was messaging, you know, my collab group. They help me when I'm planning. Sometimes I like to shoot them a text and see what they think. So, this probably is my favorite. Is my favorite one. And we can change it up a little bit. We could use a different mask. And we can, like I said, if you want to use the bigger flower, we can do that. That's still Vicky's vote. I love it. This is probably my favorite leaf, this Forever Fern. Where'd it go? I love this stamp set, and this is probably my favorite image. I've used this quite a bit. And see, this has a little splatter, and this one has a little splatter stamp. So you can also use those texture stamps in your background or the decorative mask or whatever, however you want to fill in that space. I'm not sure how this would turn out because it's a distinctive stamp. See, this one's distinctive as well, and you don't get that variation. So it's going to stamp, when you heat emboss it, it's going to be a blob. So you want to just make sure that whatever you pick, it's still recognizable as the flower when you heat emboss it. So I'm not sure how that one would turn out. I haven't really played with this set very much since getting it. Linda likes the color and contour. We might be able to mix these two, like do one tall flower and then a couple small flowers. What do you guys think? So you'll understand the technique either way. And you can, of course, I want you to take it today and use it and play with it and have fun. Like I said, if you're wanting white and you're not wanting to play with the technique and have different colored cardstock, you don't have to use clear. You could use white. So what do you guys think? You want to mix them? You want to do one tall flower like this, and then maybe a rose towards the bottom. It is a little bit different style, but you know, worst case scenarios, we get done and we hate it and we just say, okay, I didn't like that together, and we toss it. It's okay to do that. You know, that happens. That happens. So I think I'm going to use these leaves because I just, they're simpler and they just kind of fill up the space better. So we're going to go on our own here and create a totally new card. And that is okay. I love when we do that. And that is really the point of our Saturday mornings together. So, well, I'm just going to bring this in to protect my work surface. So this is photopolymer. So you just want to make sure that you have your pierce mat. Don't mind that glued piece on the back. You just want to make sure you have your pierce mat handy for your photopolymers or your mat from your Stamparatus. So I don't have any idea where my Emboss Buddy is, but if you still own one of those, Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell them anymore, you'll want to rub your cardstock with that before you stamp, just to keep the static down so that your embossing powder does not stick where you didn't put the Versamark. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to stamp the gray parts. So I'm going to stamp this outline, and I'm going to stamp this middle before I do my Versamark. And I'm going to do that in the basic gray. So my outlines are going, or not, I'm sorry, not basic gray, smoky slate. Grab some blocks here. I know I'm a little bit off camera, but I just don't have enough room right in front of me. Or my camera doesn't show everything. Just trying to find a block that it will fit on. So I have the outline, and I'm going to stamp that in the smoky slate. Thing up here, and this is just random. It doesn't have to be perfect. Let's put it right there. I'm kind of doing everything off to the left side. I picked portrait. You certainly could have turned it to landscape and done this like I did on the other card. So these two were portrait. Where'd that other card go? And this one was landscape. So pick the orientation that you like the best and use that. Just going to try to keep track of my stamps here and clean them as I go. I'll show you how I do my photopolymers. My goodness, there goes my brain already, guys. I'm going to show you how I clean the Versamark off. because it is a sticky ink. It's different than our classic inks. Let's see, I need the middles out, so I'm going to go ahead and grab those. Get them on a block. So this stamp, this part that fills in here, is going to be what we ink with the Versamark. But I need to put, I'm going to heat emboss everything at one time. So who has embossed before? Where you use the Versamark and you stamp and then you put the powder over it and you heat it up. Now the bad part about the video is the clear probably is not going to really show when it heats and melts and, you know, technically becomes the embossed part. But it is a very neat transformation to watch. So I'm going to put this down here. Oh, I meant to stamp off. That's all right. We're going to have a dark middle. And I'm going to put one right here. So we're going to have two of those. Good morning, Dad. Well, I hope that everyone enjoys this technique and tries some embossing today. Let's put that there. So I've got my stamps mounted that I need to do with the clear ink. So I'm going to move this off to the side here. I really like embossing, but I'll be honest, it's kind of messy. So when I'm crafting away, I don't always get it out. But I should, because it is fun. So what I'm going to do is, this is clear ink, and you just tap. And my pad's really squishy. I just re-inked it. But if you look at your stamp set, you can kind of see where it's inked. Make sure you have plenty on there. And these are kind of distinctive too, so I'm going to stand up so I can see what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of lining this up as best as I can. This stamp set's kind of like a watercolor effect, so it's not going to fill in those flowers exactly according to the lines, but I'm just trying to get it the best I can. And I'm just going to let it sit there for a second. I want that Versamark to soak in. I want it to make sure that it's on there. Now, if you have the Stamparatus, you could, you know, ink it up a couple times and close it and make sure that you get all the parts. But like I said, I wasn't too upset when that, when the other one didn't. So I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of shiny. I'm going to ink it again. I feel like it didn't get on there very well. It's probably my lighting. I can't really see. Oops, I got that way off. That's all right. Now I can see it. It's clear down here. That's okay. It's going to turn out fine. Now, when I clean this, you can use a baby wipe. I'm just going to grab my chamois and kind of wipe that sticky ink off, and then I'll clean it on my Stampin' Scrub. Now we're going to do this one. See how it's shiny? Can you guys see that on the camera? So I just want to make sure that it gets completely covered and I don't have anything on the edge. And I'm just kind of guessing here. It's not going to be perfect because these aren't clear. And really, I should have removed that, but that's okay. It's going to work out, I promise. So here comes the fun. Are you guys ready? So I'm going to close this because this can dry out, and I don't want that to dry out on me. So I'm going to close it, and I store it upside down like this. Just make sure your lid's on. I'll wipe that off a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our powder, and I have a scrap sheet over here because this will get everywhere. So you kind of want to make sure you have a sheet that you can pull away and not get this all over your work area. So you want to make sure that you're not touching where you put that Versamark. And that's why I like to do a smaller sheet because, well, I forget where I embossed, and then I end up sticking my fingers in it. So we just pour the powder over where we put that, where we stamped the Versamark. And then I'm going to turn this over. It needs tapped a little. And I keep a little spoon in here, and I just tap my paper, and I'm trying to stay over this container so the powder doesn't go anywhere. You want to just shake off the excess. If you have too much, it's not going to heat right, and you might get bubbles. So I don't know if you can see kind of where that powder went. I have some stray powder down here. You can use a fine paintbrush to kind of pull the powder away if it gets stuck where you don't want it. And then I just put my lid on this and then put this off to the side, and I can keep those stacked on my shelf. If you got any on this paper, you could take your paper and fold it and dump it back into your container. Okay, now we're going to heat. Okay, so I'm going to use that heat gun. If you don't want to hear that noise, you may want to turn your volume down for a second. I'm going to turn it on high, so our settings have off 1 and 2. I'm going to turn it to number 2. And I just want it to get hot for a second. And I forgot my tweezers, so hopefully I don't burn my fingers, but it's a good idea to use your tweezers to hold your paper. Let's see. I'll try to do this close. So I'm taking the heat gun and I'm just going over top of where I put that powder. You guys might be able to see it change, but I don't know if you will because it is clear. So it just melts that powder, and I move on. I usually just move it around. I don't want it to burn or scorch my powder. And you can kind of tell if there's any spots that look like a matte color, like it's not shiny, that hasn't melted yet. And you can do it from the back side too. That kind of helps with the warping. I'm just trying to catch it in the light to make sure I melted everything. Okay, there we go. Now you can let that sit for a second and let it cool down. Oh, did it show? Good. I was trying to see on my screen, but I couldn't tell on my screen. Yay! So that's probably my favorite part about the embossing is when the magic happens. So hopefully you can see it's shiny where we embossed, but it's clear. So obviously if you did silver or the copper or whatever colors we have now, they changed it up where you don't buy the single color. So I know we have white, we have a trio. It's like white, black, and what are they? Let me just look. Hey guys, I can show you the new inside of the new catalog now. Yay! Now, if you didn't get your catalog and you need one, make sure you message me and let me know.
because if you've ordered from me, you definitely should have gotten one in the mail. I always have Stampin' Up! Mail my customers their catalogs out. Okay, oh, there it is. So I'm just letting this cool off for a second. I don't want to go straight into dumping a bunch of stuff on there. I'm kind of letting it rest and just cool off for a second. So we have the basics is black, clear, and white. And then we have metallics, which is copper, gold, and silver. So now they come in a set of 3, and that's what they are. So see, this was the clear used on, it looks like Fleur de Flamingo, and it takes on the color of the cardstock you used, but it's shiny and glossy, and it's just fun. So you could definitely do this technique with a colored piece too. Okay, now let's see. So now we are going to, I'm just kind of looking at it to make sure I didn't miss any powder. You can definitely tell I have that powder everywhere. It's all over my desk. Doesn't matter how careful I am. Okay, now we're going to continue stamping in those colors that we chose. So, for instance, this card, I'm going to start stamping in the leaves. And I kind of did the background last. I did all of that last. You can do it in any order that you like. So if you wanted to use this mask, you could sponge that on and then stamp over top of it if you want the leaves to, you know, be darker. Completely up to you. But I'm going to do the leaves. This is just the order that I've been doing them, so I'm going to continue on with my, I guess, my order. But like I said, you could do it any way that you want. There's not a wrong way. But I'm using the leaves from the Artistically Inked. I just like how they look. So you could use whatever. And then, what do you guys think? Do you want to use this leaf? I'm not even sure what that is. Is it a ginkgo? I don't know. I'm sure there's somewhere I have written down what these are, but I'm not sure. So we're going to stamp, where did my green go? We're going to stamp our leaves in green. And I don't need this mat anymore because these are red rubber. But I use that to stamp in my darker colors. So we can also use the trio of flowers here, or we have, and I don't want to get too many different styles, but we also have this. These are bigger. This trio is bigger. Would take up a lot more space, but you could stamp those in. But on this one, I chose to do the leaf in the blue. And this one, I did the leaves and the flowers. So let me know what you think about what we want to use for this rich razzleberry, because that's what we're going to stamp next. And I'm just going to start tap, tap, tap onto my ink pad and ink up my big leaves here. And I'm just going to start throwing them on. Now I'm going to pull this up close so you can see where this is embossed, and that ink is actually sitting on top of that. Now this flower, I don't know if you can tell from this, it actually has little spaces in the stamp. So when I do the background, that color is going to push through into those little nooks and crannies that didn't emboss, or it doesn't, it was highlights or whatever on the stamp that didn't emboss when we did the powder. So you're going to see what happens to that around those little spots, and it's really neat how it just fills in. Now be careful if you put something on that flower and then you want to stamp off, you might want to re-ink and stamp off, because it won't take the ink off your stamp when you touch the embossing powder. the round berry shapes. So this one, is this what you mean? So I'm just gonna maybe add in one more over this way. I just want some green filled in. See how it left this touched over that embossed flower and it didn't take the ink. So if you are doing where you stamp and then stamp off, just know that, because that's how it's going to stamp when you stamp off. So I like to just re-ink and stamp off and then stamp where I wanted the stamped off. So I'm going to add in some smaller leaves, and you can do them, you know, as heavy as you want. We actually have a leaf that I'm going to stamp right here. Let's put a little one right there. Just kind of want it to fill in a little bit. I tend to put too many leaves. Is anyone else like me? You just can't stop yourself sometimes. So I'm just cleaning those leaves off real quick while we're trying to decide what we want to be rich razzleberry. Okay, Vicki votes for this one, which was the original. That's what I used on this card, and I do like it. Now, if you wanted some more leaves up there, you definitely could, but I'm going to fill in with this. And let me show you. If I can get this to fit on that block. So the Color and Contour has this little leaf pattern that goes along with that one. So I'm going to stamp that in Smoky Slate. And if you wanted it colored in, you could grab your blends. You just want to make sure if you've embossed somewhere that you don't go over the embossing with your blends, because it will color the embossing. So there, we just finished off our leaf. And I can't wait. This is going to be revealed, and it's going to all make sense very soon, and you're going to love it. Okay. So I didn't see, is everyone on board with this? I do have a few tips for using the darker colors. I'm going to be using this little towel to pick up my ink. So after we're all done stamping, you're cleaning the ink off of that. That's the resist part. This is going to resist the ink, and it has to go somewhere, and the darker colors tend to get all over the place. So, you know, on your fingers, that's how I ended up. Did anyone notice the thumbprint on my other card? So you're going to be wiping this away. That's also why we stamped the middles and then stamped the flower on top of it, so that it's protected with the clear ink too. Now I want to show you, let me show you up close. So this flower, the middle, when you stamp the solid part, is still open. So that's why my background color came through. But it'll wipe off of everything else, except for when you put your thumb there. That's really hard to blend out. So let's go in with the darker color. Just so you know, be careful, because if you're doing a completely different color for that background, chances are this is going to wipe off and get a little bit onto your background. So just so you know what it's going to look like, I like to stamp on my paper. I love this stamp. It's probably my favorite. I think it can be any color you want it to be. And we're just going to start adding this in. And you can stamp this one off too. And I smudged it just a tad there. So it might have touched some, but I might have had a little tiny bit of embossing powder there or something. So if you want it stamped off, you can stamp off. and stamp. So see how right here, that embossing powder is resisting it. So sometimes I like to just dab it up. You're saying, oh my goodness, Beth, it's smearing. Yes, it is going to. So I like to dab it up just a tad on the dark colors. See, there's even some over here. So when you touch it, it's going to smear because that embossing powder is resisting it. So you're thinking, oh, that looks terrible. Just trust me, in the end, it's not going to look like that. But you just want to be careful because the dark colors seem to smear a little bit differently than the lighter ones. It just, they do kind of take over. So I'm just going to add another one, I think, right here. And maybe some down here. See, you can really tell when I got over top of that flower. You can tell what's hit the paper and what there. I think that's enough. Try not to overdo it again. You can tell what's hit the paper and what's hit the embossing. So now this works with the classic inks. So like I said, if you touch it with the blends do color over the embossing. So I'm gonna just wait a second here because I want to see how it's gonna look. You can always come back in and add more. So what I want to do next, you have to decide, do I want a pattern or do I just want to try blending? So let me know what you guys think. I'm going to try to dab up some of this ink before I start blending it with my blending brush. And don't worry, see, it's pushing through everywhere there's a space in that embossing. So if you were doing a different color, like blue back here, you might want to be careful if you don't want that purple to be out here. I'm not too worried because I chose, the whole reason why I chose a similar color is for that reason. And when I start using the blending brush, you're going to really see that white come back out. That white, because we wanted the white paper to stay. Okay, so what do you guys think? Do you want to add in anything else? Are you ready to, or a pattern? I did do the pattern last, so it's okay if you choose that after you've done the blending. Let me grab my, I've just got a pink blending brush here. Now, something you might want to consider is if you're, when you blend, like how I blended this mask over, I had already blended my blue. So I had already pushed all that ink off my flowers and the gray was a lot easier to clean up. So that's also something just to consider. Like I said, the order you do it in is okay. You just want to think about where your colors are going when you wipe them off, and how that might affect your color underneath. This didn't affect the blue, really, in my opinion, at all. It wiped off pretty easy, and I was kind of able to see when I was hitting the flower and kind of move around it. So are you guys ready to do the background? And then we can choose a mask. Maybe one of the new masks, or if you have any of the old ones, that's things I don't get rid of because I use them all the time. I also like this pattern. So I used this one. I'm not sure what you would call that little design. And then we have this one. It looks like a plaid. And anything that you put into here is going to really be dark because it's going to have lots of squares. So we could do this pattern with the fresh freesia and then kind of sponge gray around. So that's something to think. What do you guys think? What's your opinions? Let's get some creativity going here, some of the process. Tell me what you think. And then once I start using my blending brush and that ink really moves off of the embossed part, you're going to see these flowers just pop out. Yeah, it does look like lattice. I was like, it's plaid, it's lattice. I do think it looks like that too. I love plaid with everything. So I've seen a couple cards where they just, you know, used the stencil and they just went over a little bit and then they did a little bit in the corner. I just realized this had a couple pieces that didn't pop out in the making process. So just make sure that all those little bits in there are out. Good night, Marianne. Thanks for joining us for a little bit. I will post a finished card later. So please come back this afternoon or whenever you get up this evening and check it out. Thanks for joining us for a bit. Yeah, I think it definitely looks like lattice too. Okay, so let's do this. Move that out of the way. So the only thing I want to avoid is I'm trying not to go over this edge, and I want it to kind of fade. I don't want it to be over the whole part. So like I lightened up over here, and because I didn't want it to be the whole card. So we could do it like this. Is this what you mean, Vicki, on an angle? We could do it like this and just let it fade. And I will stencil and then I line it up and I move it. Or move it and line it up, I guess is the proper order. So do you want to try this? I was thinking this in gray, but it's going to leave those gray blocks behind. I'm not sure how this is going to show up with the gray. Or we can just do the lattice and not have any other background color. But you want to make sure that you have enough color over top of where you've embossed to make that white pop out. So what do you guys think? Do you want to try this with the fresh freesia? If we hate it, we can go back over it with a different color. Okay, so we got the angle going. And I'm gonna move it up just a tad, just so that I can see what I'm doing. I will have to do a little bit more. So what do you guys think? Fresh freesia? All right, let's do it. I'm gonna move this stamp set out of my way. And I've got my clean brush, and I'm just gonna pick up some ink. Now you can make this as light or dark as you want. So I'm just moving that ink around on my pad and picking it up. You want to start off up here and then just kind of lightly come in. And how you press, how hard you press and how much you re-ink your brush is going to determine how dark that becomes. So I said you can do this step first right after you do your embossing and then stamp your leaves and everything on top of that. It's completely up to you. I like to do it last though. I think it just softens that background because I want the flowers to pop out. But again, I encourage you to try it whatever order you like and see what the results are and see which way you like it. I'm just trying to hold this so I don't move it. I don't want to move that. I could have taped my paper onto the back of it. But we're just going to go with it. And I want to be careful. I don't want to get close to this edge. Just trying to make sure I got over everything. And it's okay if you didn't. Put a little bit more down here. Ooh, this is so fun. I think this is going to turn out awesome. Need to get a little bit more. Oops. Did I move it? I think I did. Luckily, you can line it right back up. Okay, I'm going to move it a little bit. And I'm just lining up that grid. So see how it's starting to come out? I'm going to line this up the best I can because I need it to come over just a little. Which way? Oh, I was like, wait a minute. Which way did I have that lined up? For some reason, there we go. I think that's good. For some reason, I'm having a horrible time getting this. I must have moved it a little tiny bit. Or maybe that's where it's embossed. Oh well, we're not going to worry about it too much. Because I gotta be able to get up here. And I need to be able to keep moving it. There we go. What do you guys think? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull some of this color off and I'm just going to rub over those flowers. And this brush is actually, it will pick up the color. And it will blend into the background a little bit. I'm going to put some solid down here. Just want this corner. So, and then I just, yeah, it takes it into the white space. And it will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with this rag. It's not really a rag. It's a Norwex cloth. But it picks up nicely. And I just want to gently rub where I went over those flowers. So this one, the purple kind of stuck behind. And it could be my embossing powder. Or it could be that I didn't emboss that well enough. Whoops, there goes my heat tool. I shook it right off the table. But I'm just trying to be gentle and kind of move that ink off of that flower. See how it's coming off? Just taking my time. And anywhere that I didn't have embossing powder, the other colors are going to show through. And that's okay. What do you guys think? And like I said, if you just kind of have to keep working it. And that's why I said sometimes you're going to get ink on you. But I really love how this looks. And then we can stamp our greeting up here. Now you'll see this is kind of warped a little from all that heating. Here's something that I do. let me take away this grungy page here. I put a clean clear block on there and kind of let it rest for a second and straighten out. Thank you, Jenny. Yes, Vicki, I hope that you play with this. It's really fun. I know Jenny showed a technique when we had our crafty collab session, and there's so many fun things you can do with clear embossing folders. Jeez, my goodness. Don't mind my brain. I was up late waiting on my kid to get in from work, and it seems like it doesn't want to, I can't talk correctly this morning. I like the clear embossing powder because you can do a lot of techniques with it. You could literally have colored and stamped and done a whole page. And one of the things that I used to do, I haven't done it for a while, is I would draw black lines like a stained glass window, and then you can clear emboss the entire sheet, and it looks really cool for your layer. Yes, Jenny and Vicki are always blaming me for stuff. I don't know why they do that. Well, I'm glad that you were surprised, Linda. That's why I said this technique, when you're trying to explain it in the beginning, it's like, what are you doing? I totally don't get this, but the results are so cool. And so when I saw Ruth do it, and I've seen a couple other people's videos as well, it kind of reminded me that this is a really cool technique. And when you have decorative masks, or you could do texture stamps, you know, like that splatter, we could still go back in and add some rich raspberry splatter or some gray splatter, and you just continue, every time you do ink, you just continue to wipe off that embossed part so that the white paper underneath shows through. I use this on my brush too. So you can kind of use your brush. Sorry, everything on my table is shaking. I'm being kind of forceful. But anywhere that you didn't have that embossing powder, that color is going to go there. Like Jenny said, it kind of goes to the white space that's not covered with the clear embossing. So, next question. Are you guys ready? Do you want to add anything else? So this pattern actually filled in really well because, so I don't really think you need any extra sponging because it had a pattern that really filled in that background, which is what you want. Now, do you want to add some splatter? Do you want to add anything else? Are you happy with the way it is? And we will pick something to stamp on here. So, I'm trying to see if there's any other sayings in here. You know, this Shaded Summer has Love You Friend. And just an idea, if you wanted to send a mom friend a card, I know I've sent my mom tribe cards for Mother's Day before. You could say Love You Friend on the front, and then on the inside, let them know why they're a great mother. And that doesn't have to arrive by tomorrow. It's okay if it arrives next week. We all want to hear that we're doing okay in life, right? And moms, we're pretty hard on ourselves a lot of times. With all the adulting we have to do and decisions we have to make for our kids. So you could do that too. And don't worry about if they get it after Mother's Day. They're not going to care. They're just going to be so excited that you wanted to give them an uplifting card. So you could stamp that. What do you guys think? Or do you want to stamp it Happy Mother's Day? This stamp set has You Are Absolutely Amazing. And I think that's a great thing to put on the outside of a Mother's Day card. So don't feel like you have to limit yourself to just Happy Mother's Day. Yes, exactly, Tracy. We're moms every day. Hallmark just made a holiday for us so that our families would give us gifts, right? So I always tell people, even if you feel like you've missed the holiday, whatever they've put on the calendar, it's okay to still send the card. In our church, we celebrate, you know, Christmas is not just one day. It's a season, really, and it's several weeks long. So send the card anyway. Even a birthday, you miss someone's birthday, send them a late birthday card. They're not, hopefully, I can't speak for everyone, I guess, but they're not going to persecute you. Now, if you have the retired, I think it's called Ornate Thanks, that has a You're Awesome or You're Something in there. I think it's... So even if you keep your retired stamps, this is actually in my to be sold. I'm clearing out my craft room. But this set, I always love the sayings because you're amazing in this set. I like these because they were skinny and they fit on my little strips. And so if you have this stamp set, you could do the you're amazing. And that can be for anyone. It can be for your mom, your grandma, your friend, your neighbor, whoever. Anytime, Vicki, anytime. So let's do You're Absolutely Amazing. And really, this could turn into a card for anything, right? I think I actually used this stamp the other day. It looks like it has been used. But I know we have You're Loved, and we have all kinds of sentiments. So dig through your stuff. I want a smaller block. Dig through your stuff. And, you know, grab whatever you have. I need my little mat here because we have a photopolymer stamp. So I want to make sure I pull in my mat. And see how it's getting a little warped. After I made these cards, I took my block and I laid it on top of it just to help smooth it out. So there's a little tip. Make sure it's clean. I've actually done that and had ink on my block and messed up my card. So just make sure your block's clean. Now, do you guys want to stamp? These I stamped in the Night of Navy, so it would match. Do you guys want Rich Razzleberry or Basic Gray for the greeting? Rich Razzleberry or Basic Gray? And we're going a little bit over. Tell Bob I'm sorry, Jenny. All right, Rich Razzleberry's winning. And the other decision we have to make is what color cardstock we're going to put it on. So this one I did Night of Navy with Night of Navy. I did white, basic white, and this one was Balmy Blue. So we can do Fresh Freesia, we could do Rich Razzleberry, or we could even do Basic Gray if you wanted a dark gray. That would probably really pop all those colors. So I have 2 votes for Basic Gray ink and 2 votes for Rich Razzleberry. Anyone? Anyone else? Anyone on? Somebody has to be the tiebreaker. And don't be afraid to comment. Don't be shy. I told you we won't bite. I promise. And you know you want to help us make this card. You know you want your opinions to be heard, right? Especially, and it's creative. Nobody's wrong. Nobody's wrong here. That's the beauty of crafting, isn't it? It is so fun because you can do what you want and you have creative freedom. End up sticking my hand in one of those. Okay, I'm gonna grab Joe's sleeping, Vicki. I know, you haven't heard him yet, have you? I'm gonna grab some cardstocks while I'm waiting. just so we can test them out. You know, we like to try things out. And if you have these cardstocks, then that's what I would suggest, would be to grab them out and see what you like. I had white. Let me grab a basic gray. Anyone else lose things like me? Okay, I'm just grabbing some basic gray because I wanted to show you how it makes it pop if you choose one of the neutrals. Okay, where are those? Okay, these would be my choices. You could, of course, pick green. You have a little bit of green in there. Bob says, Rich Raspberry. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for being the tiebreaker. Tracy, I'm glad I'm not alone. I always say I'm forming a tribe for messy crafters. You know, we live in this chaos of our craft room. And while I love it, there's so many times that I walk around going, where did I lay that? Or what did I do with that? I just had that. Jenny and Vicky can attest to how crazy it can be when I can't find something, because we searched for a stamp set on Wednesday forever, and Jenny and I both looked right at it. This technique, Linda, would work with any solid stamp. So even if it's a small stamp and you stamp like the wildflower stamps, if you did them in a line across the bottom, and then you just want to have a little bit of room that color, you can add color on top. So yes, that would work as long as it's solid. I didn't say you were blind, but we definitely missed it. Yeah, Joe stayed up really late last night and he's sleeping in. And so, you know me, I don't sleep very much. So I got up with Zach, and I, of course, stayed up for Gabe to come in at 1:20 from his job. So it's a good thing God gave us coffee. Okay, Bob said Rich Razzleberry. So let me toss that over for a second. Let's go ahead and stamp our greeting, and then we're gonna take some time to look at these cardstocks. Now, if you pick a colored cardstock and it's not white, you're gonna want a white insert, and I like to do those at 5 1/4 by 4, or you could do it, I forgot to tell you, the size of this piece is 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. That's my typical size that I use. Let's see, I'm trying to get in here and make sure. I usually put a piece of grid paper up here so I know I'm doing it straight. It's there. It's there. I messed up my Y a little bit, but hopefully nobody will be judging me. So there we go. Yay! Okay, I'm going to close these inks because my finger always finds this one, you know, where it doesn't come off for days. It's got to wear off. I'm a pretty messy crafter. I cleaned so that Jenny and Vicky could come hang out with me. And so I had to clean my table off. But, you know, if you looked in the background of that picture from the other day, you probably noticed my full table. And I have another table that's full. And I have stamps sitting everywhere because I'm trying to decide what retired stuff I want to keep. So I'm typically pretty crazy. Okay, this is a Rich Razzleberry piece of cardstock. Now you could mat this to another color like white, you know, it would really pop out where you've done your sponging or brushing. You could do a gray color to help bring that out. I would use a neutral, but you could also use Rich Razzleberry if you really wanted to mix your colors. So there's what that one looks like. Now let's toss this one over here. Here's a piece of fresh freesia. So you can kind of see it just blends in a little bit more because we're picking that background color. So that's an option. And then this is one of my favorite things to do is do the basic gray because it pops those colors off the page. It just says, look at me. I want everyone to see me. And then we have the basic white. And I do like this. It just helps everything be the focal point. Like I said, you could use a mat cut to 5 1/4 inches by 4 to go on this. And that would probably help this too, because this is still wanting to buckle a little. But we're going to use some strong adhesive. So you want to use liquid glue or tear and tape or this Seal Plus. I was like, what's it called? Seal Plus to hold this down because we've heated it and it's not going to want to lay flat. And see this, I think maybe I needed to heat this a little bit more. That might be why that fresh freesia wants to kind of grip into that where that powder was. So don't worry about that. I think it looks fine. And you could even, like I said, if you had it on the Stamparatus, you could heat emboss it and then stamp over it again with some Versamark and then heat emboss it twice. So you can do that. I tend to be impatient, so I like to just do it once, and however it turns out is however it turns out. Yes, I do like the rich razzleberry. I actually like all of these choices. But I agree, the gray really makes it pop. So when deciding this, you literally have to just kind of choose what you're feeling that day. I don't always pick the same thing. And like with these, I could have used gray on one of those, but I just picked my most used colors out of the card, and I mounted them that way. And so I just think every color gives it a little bit different feel. So let's go with the gray. And you could I do have a piece of white here that's cut. I like to keep these cut. I just take a sheet and cut them. You get 4 out of each sheet. So you could take a piece of white and double this up and then put it on the gray. So when you change the size of this border, it looks different. So there's with the matte, and then here is without. I kind of like it without. Now, if you wanted this to be sturdier, something that I see other people doing, and I'll tell you guys, just so that you can do it, you can just decide. I have an extra piece of basic white right here, already cut to the same size. You could glue these together so that this is a little bit sturdier since we've heated it and we've sponged on it and we've kind of roughed up this paper. And that's just going to help keep it a little bit sturdy. And then that way, if you want to use dimensionals, it's going to kind of stand up a little bit better. So what do you guys think? Matte or no matte? That's our last choice. And then I'm going to glue everything together and we're done with our Emboss Resist card. Did you guys like this technique? If you did, make sure you give me some love on my video and share with all your crafty friends. And just let Bob know, Jenny, in case he's not in the room, that I really appreciate him doing the tiebreaker. I knew Bob liked cards.
So matte or no matte? Vicki says matte it. So let me put that back on just so you can see. And so you can use all your favorite colors. And if you really wanted to try it as a one sheet wonder, you could do that and cut it up and then, you know, add in your backgrounds or however you want to do it. I just personally feel like I cannot control that much space when I'm doing this technique. I know it is a tough choice. It's always a tough choice for me. That's why I need you all on Saturday mornings, because I need to see what you would do. I'm so glad you guys joined me this morning. Yeah, the white really does. It helps bring out those colors and gives you a little bit of separation from the gray. I just like the whiter border. I like this. And I could trim this down a little bit more, and then you could do this any size you want. I like to fill up the space. Any other votes? Any other votes? Okay. We're gonna mat it. Let's do it. All right, so I'm going to use liquid. That's my favorite. Like I said, you could use tear and tape. You just want to make sure it's going to stay. Well, maybe. Make sure it's going to stick down there because it's a little warped from all the heating and sponging. I can't really see where I'm sitting, so I'm going to pull it up here. I think Joe might be awake. I think I heard him. Just trying to get it even. And I'm going to round the edge because I really want to make sure my edges stay down. I'm going to take this block and I'm going to lay it on top of there while I'm doing this. And I have a piece for the inside. Now you could stamp maybe some of these leaves on the inside. This little purple, let's do that real quick. Where'd that stamp set go? We'll just throw a little color in there. Or you can leave it plain, or if you have a piece of designer series paper that you love, especially one if it's like a black and white or a gray and white, that would go perfect in here. You could use a fresh freesia piece of maybe one of the new designer series papers, like the color family papers. That would work too. So I'm just going to stick a little detail there in the corner. And I like to let my rich raspberries sit for just a second, because I always tend to touch it and it smears. Like I said, that color likes to find my hand or my finger or my arm and be there for a few days. So I'm going to put this on the inside. Now I could stamp this with Happy Mother's Day or whatever I want on the inside. I think I got that straight. Now you could use dimensionals. I'm just going to do it flat, but you can spice it up however you like. You could add some embellishments on here. We have so many new pretty embellishments. I love it. So when you rub your hand across this, it does feel a little different.
make sure there's no ink on that. I'm going to put that like that. You guys want to embellish it, and then we'll be done, I promise. I'm glad you guys stuck around with me today. So here's my originals. If you need any products, you know, you can go to bethroy.stampinup.net and click on Shop Now and see all the new pretty things, or check out the supplies that I used today. And I'm going to show you guys, I know I posted these last night, but these are the 4 cards I made from that 5-inch by 12-inch sheet of that perfectly penciled paper. And this is what, this is funny because when I was trying to decide on my card bases for these, I always go for gray. And Jenny and Vicky actually helped push me beyond my comfort zone, and I used Greeny Apple Green for a card base. So who loves this? And I also used Balmy Blue. But I love that paper, so I hope you guys enjoyed those cards. Yeah, the masks, you know, I said I was not going to get the new ones. I said, I can't, I'm not going to get those, but these are really cool. And, you know, I love to add texture, and these are great. So they are called Artistic Mix. And let me show you these really quick. I got all kinds of things flying out. So we have this one, which is really neat. This is shown in the catalog a couple times. Then we have this really big squares, which I think could be really cool. Then we have this. So I've done this technique many times where I use a circle or a shape, and I make a mask, and I sponge this part, and then I stamp around it. So that's pretty fun. And then you get these 2. So there's 5 masks in there. And I think these are going to grow on me. I was sad that my polka dot mask went away, but you know, I'm going to still use it. It is not leaving my room. I loved those. And I had a set they had in the mini catalog from Christmas. And so I have all different masks that I've been collecting that Stampin' Up! Has had. But I love these. These are in the back of the catalog. So, and we only have one set now, but they are really fun. So there we go. There's our card that we made today. So thank you for joining me. And if you're interested in the paper share, those details are going to go up as soon as I'm done with this live. So thank you all. Anybody have any questions before we go on the Emboss Resist technique? Thank you, Susan. Thanks for watching. Ooh, good question, Vicky. She asked, can the Versamark be used on the mask and then embossed? I will be absolutely honest. I have never tried that, so I don't know. I think if you do dedicate a brush or a sponge dauber to only having Versamark on it, Versamark cleans up a lot different than the classic inks. You know, giving it a try, it either works or it won't. And I would say, depending on the detail of the mask and how fine it is, and if you apply it, let me give you an example. If you apply it only with your hand going in one direction, then it could very well work. Something like this that has a real thin detail, this can lift up when you're using your brush. So sometimes we use a sponge dauber. I don't have any clean, but we have these that go in your finger. These will sometimes work a little better with these real thin designs. So like I said, you could try it. But then your whole background is going to be embossed. So I don't know how that would work out, but it's worth a go. Like I said, worst case scenario, you find out it doesn't work how you wanted it to, and
You've gained the knowledge, that the experience of just getting crafty and trying your ideas. So don't be afraid to try, but I've not done that before. Thank you, Linda. Okay, guys, I'm going to go check on my kid. I hear him. I hear some Star Wars going on. He might be on the stairs. And see what they're into. And I'm going to do a few more of these. So I will make sure that I post my results and I post the paper share form. So thank you, thank you. I love my time with you, and I hope that you loved this creative journey learning the Emboss Resist technique. Take care.